Most people think they have an income problem. They believe that if they could just earn a little more money, everything would finally get easier. The bills would disappear, the stress would go away, and financial freedom would finally be within reach. It sounds reasonable, but here's something surprising. There are people earning $40,000 a year who are quietly building wealth, and there are people earning $200,000 a year who are drowning in debt. So what's really going on? Why do some people seem to make financial progress no matter how much they earn, while others stay stuck for decades? After studying successful investors, entrepreneurs, and self-made millionaires, one thing becomes clear. Wealth follows a different set of rules than most people realize, and today we're going to explore 5 of the most important ones. Most of us spend years learning how to make money, but very few people ever learn how to build wealth, and those two things are not the same. Making money is important, but if income alone created wealth, every highly paid professional would be financially free. We know that's not true. Some people spend 30 years working hard and still feel financially trapped. Others quietly build freedom without extraordinary incomes. The difference often comes down to a handful of principles that influence every financial decision we make. The good news? None of them require genius-level intelligence. You don't need to predict the stock market. You don't need to start the next billion-dollar company. You simply need to understand how wealth actually works. Let's start with the first principle. The biggest lie about wealth. One of the most dangerous beliefs in personal finance is the idea that income creates wealth. At first, that sounds completely reasonable. After all, earning more money should make it easier to become wealthy, and in some ways it does. But income by itself doesn't create wealth, it creates opportunity. What happens next is what matters. Imagine 2 people. The first earns $60,000 per year, the second earns $180,000. Most people immediately assume the second person will become wealthier. But what if the first person consistently saves 20% of every paycheck, invests regularly, and avoids unnecessary debt? And what if the second person upgrades their lifestyle every time they get a raise? A larger home, a more expensive car, luxury vacations, new subscriptions, more monthly payments. 10 years later, who do you think is in a stronger financial position? The answer surprises a lot of people. Because wealth is rarely determined by how much money comes in, it's determined by how much stays. Income opens the door. Habits decide what happens after you walk through it. Why time beats talent. Most people dramatically underestimate the power of time. In fact, the single mistake may cost them more wealth than almost anything else. When people think about building wealth, they focus on earning more. A higher salary, a better investment, a side business, a promotion. But the truly wealthy understand something different. Time is often more important than all of those things. Let's look at Warren Buffett. Today, he's one of the richest people in history. Most people assume his fortune came from extraordinary investment skill. And while he is certainly a great investor, that's only part of the story. The real secret is that he started investing as a child. He gave compounding decades to work its magic. Here's what's fascinating. The majority of Buffett's wealth was created after the age of 50, and an enormous portion came after the age of 65. Not because he suddenly became smarter, not because he found a secret investment, but because time amplified every dollar he had already invested. This is why someone who starts investing at 25 often ends up far ahead of someone who starts at 35, even if both invest the same amount. The lesson isn't complicated. You don't need perfect timing. You need more time. Most people spend years waiting for the perfect moment. The wealthy understand that the perfect moment rarely exists. They start and then they stay consistent. Because time rewards consistency in ways that most people don't fully appreciate until it's too late. The invisible wealth killer. Imagine you get a raise tomorrow. What would be the first thing you do? Most people have an answer. A nicer apartment, a newer car, a better vacation, maybe all 3. And that's exactly where the problem begins. There's a financial trap so common that millions of people fall into it without even noticing. It's called lifestyle inflation. As income increases, spending increases right alongside it. The promotion feels good, the upgrade feels deserved, and before long, every extra dollar has already been spent. From the outside, everything looks successful. The car is nicer, the house is bigger, the lifestyle is more impressive. But beneath the surface, nothing has really changed. Financial stress remains, dependence on the next paycheck remains, and wealth barely grows. This is why some people earning $200,000 per year feel just as trapped as people earning half that amount. Their lifestyle expanded faster than their wealth. The truly wealthy approach raises differently. When income goes up, they don't automatically increase spending. They increase ownership. They buy assets. They invest. They create future income instead of simply consuming present income, and over time, that difference becomes enormous. Because financial freedom isn't created by looking wealthy. It's created by becoming wealthy. The difference between rich and wealthy? Most people use the words rich and wealthy as if they mean the same thing. They don't. Being rich usually means having a lot of money coming in. Being wealthy means having assets that continue producing value even when you're not working. A professional athlete can be rich. A successful surgeon can be rich. A celebrity can be rich. But if their income stops tomorrow, what happens? Wealth is different. Wealth works for you while you're sleeping, while you're traveling, while you're spending time with your family. The wealthy focus on acquiring assets, stocks, index funds, businesses, rental properties, intellectual property, anything capable of generating value over time. This shift changes everything because eventually, income from assets begins replacing income from labor, and that's where true financial freedom starts to become possible. The goal isn't to work forever. The goal is to build a system that continues working even when you don't. Every asset you acquire becomes a tiny employee, one that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without asking for a raise. And the more of those assets you own, the more freedom you create. Your brain is working against you. Most financial advice focuses on numbers, budgets, investments, interest rates, but wealth is often less about math and more about psychology, because human beings are emotional creatures, and emotions can be expensive. Think about what happens during a market crash. Prices fall, fear spreads, headlines become negative. Suddenly, people who were confident investors a few months earlier begin selling everything, not because the fundamentals changed, but because their emotions changed. The same thing happens in everyday life. People buy things to impress strangers. They spend money to reduce stress. They make impulsive decisions because something feels good in the moment. Then later, they wonder why financial progress seems so difficult. Here's the reality. Most wealth-building strategies are surprisingly simple. The difficult part isn't understanding them. The difficult part is following them consistently, especially when emotions are telling you to do the opposite. The ability to stay calm, the ability to delay gratification, the ability to think long-term when everyone else is thinking short-term. Those skills are incredibly valuable because mastering money starts with mastering yourself. When most people think about wealth, they focus on income. But as we've seen, wealth is shaped by something much deeper. It's shaped by habits, by patience, by discipline, by ownership, and by psychology. The people who build lasting wealth aren't necessarily the smartest, they aren't necessarily the highest earners, and they aren't necessarily the luckiest. They simply understand a few principles that guide their decisions year after year. Let's recap them. Income creates opportunity, but habits create wealth. Time is one of the most powerful financial advantages you'll ever have. Lifestyle inflation quietly destroys progress. Assets create freedom, and your emotions often have more influence over your finances than any spreadsheet ever will. The good news is that every one of these principles can be learned, and every one of them can be applied starting today. Not next year, not when you earn more money. Today. Because the earlier you begin, the more powerful these principles become. If you found this video valuable, subscribe to Wealth Principles for more insights on money, investing, and financial freedom. And let me ask you this. Which of these 5 principles do you think most people overlook? Let us know in the comments below.